The bitter cold of Frostpoint cut through Kira's thin gray dress like daggers of ice. Her orange skin, normally warm with its golden speckles glimmering in the light of Lyria's twin suns, now appeared dull and pale as her body temperature plummeted. She clutched Fluff, her small blue pet, tighter to her chest, hoping to preserve what little warmth remained between them. The Lyrian mapping specialist had never imagined her routine mission would end like this. Stranded on an uncharted ice planet after her spacecraft malfunctioned and crashed, Kira looked at the wreckage scattered across the frozen landscape. The distress beacon had been destroyed in the impact. She knew the nearest settlement was hundreds of miles away, far beyond her reach in these conditions. Her pointed ears twitched as another gust of freezing wind howled around her. The sensitive scans of her environment that she had conducted in the minutes after the crash confirmed what she already feared. The temperature was dropping rapidly as night approached. Without shelter or proper thermal gear, she would freeze to death within hours. "It seems this is our final journey, little one," she whispered to Fluff, who responded with a worried chirp and burrowed deeper against her. Kira's silver hair whipped around her face as she recalled how a simple mapping mission had turned into disaster. She had been collecting data on this unexplored region of space, Sector 7, according to human designation, when her ship's navigation system failed catastrophically. The emergency landing protocols had activated too late, sending her vessel crashing into this frozen wasteland. With no hope of rescue and her strength fading, Kira found a small depression in the snow, partially sheltered by a rock formation. She settled into it, curling around Fluff protectively. As the cold penetrated deeper into her bones, she began to sing a lullaby from her homeworld, a final comfort before the inevitable. "Beneath twin suns we find our way, through stars and void we sail. When darkness comes, remember light, our love will never fail." Her voice, normally melodious, now trembled with cold and exhaustion. Kira closed her eyes, accepting her fate. At least she wouldn't die alone. Fluff had been her loyal companion for years, through countless expeditions and discoveries. There was a strange comfort in facing the end together. Suddenly, the ground beneath her trembled. At first, Kira thought it might be her own shivering, but the vibrations grew stronger. Something large was approaching. She forced her eyes open, squinting through the swirling snow. A massive silhouette emerged from the blizzard, a figure in heavy battle armor, silver gray against the white landscape. A human. The armored figure knelt beside her, the faceplate of their helmet reflecting Kira's weakened form. Strong arms gently lifted her and Fluff, cradling them against a chest plate that radiated blessed warmth. Emergency heating systems, Kira realized distantly, as her frozen consciousness began to slip away. The last thing she heard before darkness claimed her was a deep voice speaking words she couldn't understand, but the tone conveyed urgency and concern. Warmth. That was the first sensation Kira registered as consciousness slowly returned. Not the biting, painful heat of sudden thawing, but a gentle, enveloping warmth that slowly seeped into her frozen limbs. She kept her eyes closed, savoring the feeling, afraid it might vanish if she acknowledged it. A soft chirp near her ear made her eyes fly open. Fluff was safe, curled up on the pillow beside her head, its blue fur restored to its usual vibrant hue. Kira found herself in a small shelter, lying on a cot covered with thermal blankets. The structure hummed with energy, some kind of emergency outpost, she guessed. Environmental controls, power generators, and communication equipment lined the walls. Her gaze finally settled on the figure sitting at a small console across the room. The human had removed his helmet, revealing short, dark hair and a face etched with concern. As if sensing her gaze, he turned, revealing eyes that reminded Kira of the stormy seas on Lyria's southern continent, a complex mix of blue and green and gray. He approached cautiously, hands held out in a universal gesture of peace. "You're awake," he said, his voice deep and clear. Of course, Kira couldn't understand the words, but the relief in his tone was unmistakable. He tapped his chest. Jack! Kira mimicked the gesture. Kuh. Then she gently stroked Fluff, who chirped happily. Fluff! Jack smiled, a gesture apparently common to both their species, and retrieved a small device from a nearby table. He spoke into it, then showed the screen to Kira. Simple pictures appeared, a planet covered in ice, a small structure representing their current location, a storm symbol. Through this rudimentary communication, Kira learned she had crashed on a planet humans called Frostpoint. Jack was part of a small exploration team stationed here to study the planet's unusual mineral formations. He had detected her crash and ventured out against protocol to investigate. The pictures made it clear Jack had risked his own safety to save her. As they attempted to communicate further, an alarm suddenly blared through the shelter. Jack's expression turned grim as he checked a monitor displaying weather patterns. Even without understanding his language, Kira recognized the universal signs of concern. Jack showed her the screen again. A massive storm system was approaching, far more severe than the current blizzard. The shelter's structural integrity indicators were flashing yellow, borderline unsafe. Jack pointed to another location on the digital map, then made gestures suggesting movement. They needed to relocate to a more secure facility several miles away. The countdown timer on the screen indicated they had less than 5 hours before the storm hit full force. Working quickly, Jack provided Kira with thermal gear, a silver insulated suit designed for humans, but adjustable enough to fit her slender frame. She donned it gratefully, understanding that her thin gray dress would have been her death sentence in the frozen wastes. Jack packed essential supplies while Kira secured Fluff in a specially adapted pouch at her side, where the small creature could remain warm and protected. They stepped out into the howling wilderness of Frostpoint. Even with the protective gear, the cold was shocking. The wind had intensified, driving ice crystals that stung any exposed skin. Jack took the lead, his heavy battle armor providing both protection and the strength to forge a path through the deepening snow. Kira followed closely, her natural agility helping her navigate the treacherous terrain despite her unfamiliarity with it. They had covered perhaps half the distance to the main facility when Jack suddenly halted, raising a hand in warning. He activated some kind of sensor on his armor, scanning their surroundings. Then Kira heard it, a deep, rumbling growl that seemed to emanate from the storm itself. Jack pulled her behind a large ice formation, his body language screaming danger. A massive creature emerged from the swirling snow, easily 3 times Jack's height, with multiple limbs ending in wicked claws and a body covered in thick, ice-encrusted fur. Its head featured multiple eyes arranged in a circular pattern, all scanning the landscape with predatory intent. Jack whispered something that needed no translation. Frost tightened. They remained motionless, barely breathing, as the creature prowled the area. Kira could feel Fluff trembling against her side. One wrong move, one sound, and they would become the Titan's next meal. After what seemed like an eternity, the creature moved away, disappearing back into the blizzard in search of easier prey. Their journey resumed with greater urgency. The storm was intensifying faster than predicted, visibility decreasing by the minute. Jack kept them on course, using navigational tools in his armor, occasionally reaching back to steady Kira when she struggled through particularly deep snow. Finally, the main facility came into view, a large dome-shaped structure built to withstand Frostpoint's extreme conditions. Once inside, the relative warmth and silence was almost disorienting after the howling chaos outside. The facility was more spacious and better equipped than the emergency shelter, with separate living quarters, a research lab, medical bay, and command center. Power hummed through the structure, maintaining life-supporting conditions against the deadly environment outside. As they removed their outer gear, Jack's expression grew troubled. He led Kira to a monitoring station displaying the facility's status. Even with her limited understanding, Kira could interpret the flashing red indicators. There was damage to the dome structure, a significant crack that threatened the integrity of the entire facility. The approaching storm would create pressure differentials that could potentially cause catastrophic failure. Kira studied the schematics carefully. Engineering was a standard skill among Lyrian explorers, and while the human technology was different, the principles remained similar. She pointed to the damaged section, then to herself, making gestures that indicated repair work. Jack looked surprised, but nodded with understanding. They worked together seamlessly, despite the language barrier. Jack ventured outside in his battle armor to apply external reinforcements, while Kira worked inside, reconfiguring the internal support systems to compensate for the structural weakness. Time was running dangerously short. The storm's outer bands had already reached them, shaking the facility with increasingly violent gusts. Jack returned from his final external repair just as the worst of the storm hit. The dome groaned under the assault, but the combined repairs held. They had succeeded, at least for now. Exhausted but relieved, they retreated to the command center to monitor the situation. As the storm raged outside, they shared a meal from the facility supplies. The human rations were strange to Kira, but not unpleasant. Through pictures and gestures, they began to learn more about each other's worlds. Jack used the facility's systems to show images of Earth, vast oceans, dense forests, sprawling cities. Kira, in turn, drew pictures of Lyria with its twin suns, floating cities, and golden meadows. Their communication improved with each passing hour. Jack had discovered a more comprehensive translation program in the facility's database, and while it couldn't fully bridge the gap between their languages, it allowed for basic exchanges. They learned that they shared similar values: curiosity about the universe, respect for knowledge, and a desire for peaceful coexistence. As the night cycle of the facility dimmed the lights, Kira noticed Jack wincing as he removed his armor, revealing a deep bruise on his shoulder from their encounter with the Frost Titan. Without hesitation, she approached and placed her hand gently on the injury. Jack tensed momentarily, then relaxed as a soothing warmth spread from Kira's touch, a simple healing technique common among her people. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. Jack reached up slowly, his fingers brushing against Kira's cheek in a gesture of wonder and growing affection. "Your speckles," he said, the translation program interpreting his words. "They're like constellations on an alien sky." The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility. Then, with the storm howling outside like a living embodiment of the wild forces that had brought them together, their lips met in a first kiss that bridged worlds. That night, they discovered that despite their different biologies, they were compatible in ways that transcended mere physical form. They explored each other with tender curiosity, learning the landscapes of their bodies as they had once mapped unknown worlds. In the warmth of their shared bed, the deadly cold of Frost Point seemed a distant memory. Morning brought a harsh return to reality. Jack was awakened by an incoming transmission from his commander, Harris. Kira watched as Jack's expression hardened while listening to the message. When he ended the communication, he turned to her, his face troubled. "They're sending a rescue team," he explained through the translator. "But Harris gave me specific orders to secure the Xenoid for transport and interrogation." Kira didn't need a perfect translation to understand the implications. Xenoid was clearly their term for aliens, and secure left little room for interpretation. She would be treated as a specimen or a potential threat, not as a sentient being deserving of respect. Jack paced the room, conflict evident in every line of his body. "I can't do that to you," he finally said. "Not after what we've shared. Not knowing what I know about you." His decision came swiftly. They would escape together. Jack activated emergency protocols that would erase records of Kira's presence and create false readings to misdirect the rescue team. Meanwhile, he revealed something he hadn't shared before. The facility housed 2 small emergency escape vessels in a hidden hangar, designed for worst-case scenarios. They worked quickly, gathering essential supplies and preparing one of the ships for launch. Jack downloaded star charts and navigation data that would help them find their way to neutral space. Kira hesitated only once, looking at Jack with concern in her eyes. "You're abandoning everything," she said, her words now clearer through the improved translator. Your duty, your people. Jack took her hands in his. Some duties are greater than those we're assigned. And you, he said, looking in her eyes, you and Fluff are my people now. Their preparations were interrupted by an alert. The rescue team had arrived far ahead of schedule. They must have departed immediately after Harris's communication, perhaps already suspicious of Jack's intentions. There was no time left. They raced to the hangar as the facility's external doors began the decontamination sequence that would admit the rescue team. Jack initiated the emergency launch procedures while Kira secured Fluff and strapped herself into the co-pilot's seat. The escaped ship hummed to life just as they heard the main doors of the facility opening. Hang on, Jack warned as he activated the launch sequence. The hangar doors above them parted, revealing the still turbulent sky of Frost Point. The small ship rocketed upward, breaking free of the planet's atmosphere in a matter of minutes. Alarms blared almost immediately. Military pursuit vessels had launched from the rescue team's ship. They're faster than us, Jack said grimly, studying the tactical display. Standard protocol is to disable engines. Enforce aborting. Kira studied the navigation console, quickly familiarizing herself with the human controls. Let me, she said, gently pushing Jack's hands away from the helm. I'm trained for spatial navigation in extreme conditions. Jack relinquished control, watching in amazement as Kira's fingers danced across the interface with incredible speed and precision. She altered their course, heading directly toward a dense asteroid belt that circled the nearby gas giant. They won't follow us in there, she explained, her concentration unwavering. Too risky for larger vessels. Jack looked doubtful. It's too risky for us too. Kira's golden speckles seemed to shimmer with determination. Trust me. Their small ship darted into the asteroid field, weaving between massive rocks with a grace that defied the laws of physics. The military vessels hesitated at the edge of the belt, then attempted to follow, but more cautiously. Kira pressed their advantage, taking them deeper into the field where the asteroids grew denser and more unpredictable. With a series of maneuvers that left Jack breathless, Kira navigated to a particularly large asteroid with a deep crevice. She carefully guided their ship into the narrow opening, powering down all non-essential systems once they were securely hidden. Now we wait, she whispered. Their scanners can't penetrate this much rock. Hours passed in tense silence as they monitored the occasional blip of a pursuit vessel passing nearby. Finally, the scanners showed the military ships retreating from the asteroid field, apparently abandoning their search. Once certain they were safe, they powered up the ship and carefully emerged from their hiding place. Kira set a course for a distant moon that hosted a trading outpost, neutral territory where species from many worlds conducted business away from political entanglements. During the journey, which would take several days at their vessel's maximum speed, Jack worked on improving their communication. He had downloaded the facility's entire language database and created a more sophisticated translation program. As it processed more of their exchanges, the translations became increasingly accurate. They shared stories of their worlds, their childhoods, their dreams. Jack described growing up near Earth's oceans, his fascination with the stars that had led him to join the Exploration Corps. Kira told him about life on Lyria, about the floating cities that drifted among the clouds, and the academic traditions that had shaped her into a cartographer of uncharted space. In my culture, she explained one night as they drifted among the stars, her head resting on his chest, we have a concept called oneness. When two beings connect deeply, they become something greater than themselves, a single entity composed of two souls. Jack stroked her silver hair, considering her words. On Earth, we have similar ideas. Soulmates, two halves of a whole. Kira looked up at him, her eyes reflecting the starlight from the viewport. Are we one, Jack? He kissed her forehead, right between her pointed ears. One forever, he promised. They reached the lunar trading outpost without incident. It was a bustling hub of activity, with beings from dozens of worlds moving about their business in the artificial atmosphere maintained beneath the moon's transparent domes. Jack's military uniform drew some curious glances, but in a place where discretion was valued above all else, no one asked unnecessary questions. Their first priority was establishing communication with Kira's people. At a public transmission center, they discovered something unexpected, a message broadcast throughout multiple sectors, offering a substantial reward for information about a missing Lyrian cartographer. Kira's family was searching for her. With Jack's help, Kira composed a careful response, confirming her survival but withholding their exact location until they could be certain it was safe for both of them. They secured temporary lodging with the last of Jack's credits and settled in to wait for a reply. 3 days later, it came. Her family had dispatched a ship immediately. The Lyrian vessel would arrive within 3 standard days. For Jack, these days passed in a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. "What if they reject me?" he asked Kira as they lay together in their small rented quarters. "I'm human. Your people might see me as the enemy." Kira placed her orange hand against his cheek. "My people value knowledge and understanding above all else. And besides," she added with a smile that illuminated her golden speckles, "we face whatever comes together." The Lyrian ship arrived precisely on schedule, a sleek vessel with graceful, curved lines that seemed to flow like liquid metal. It docked at the outpost's main bay, and Jack and Kira were there to meet it, Fluff perched contentedly on Kira's shoulder. The ship's doors opened to reveal 2 Lyrians, a male and female with the same orange skin and silver hair as Kira, though their golden speckles formed different patterns. Her parents. The reunion was emotional, with rapid exchanges in their melodic language that the translator couldn't quite keep up with. There were tears, apparently a universal physiological response, and embraces that included Fluff's excited chirping. Finally, Kira's father turned to Jack. He was tall, even for a Lyrian, with an air of dignity that required no translation. He studied Jack for a long moment, then extended both hands, palms up, a Lyrian gesture of respect and acceptance. "My daughter tells me you saved her life at great personal cost," he said, the translator rendering his words clearly. "You are a friend of family." Jack accepted the gesture, placing his hands atop the elder Lyrians as Kira had taught him. "Thank you, sir." Kira stepped forward, taking Jack's hand firmly in hers. "Father, mother, Jack is not just my friend." She looked at him with unmistakable love. "He is my one." Her parents exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them. Then her mother approached, placing her hands on both their shoulders. "The universe brings together those who are meant to find each other," she said simply. Even across the stars. They were welcomed aboard the Lyrian vessel, a ship far more spacious and comfortable than Jack had imagined. Living quarters, gardens, laboratories, and observation decks filled the interior. It was both a home and a research vessel, designed for long journeys through space. As they settled in for the journey to Lyrian space, Kira's father explained that their people had known of Earth for some time, through trading partners and occasional distant observations. "A visit might be possible someday," he suggested, noting Jack's wistful expression when speaking of his homeworld. "Our peoples have more in common than differences." The Lyrian ship accelerated, preparing for the jump to Lyrian space, a region Jack had never imagined he would see. Standing at the viewport with Kira, he watched the stars blur around them. Their journey had begun with a desperate embrace on a frozen world, facing certain death. Now that embrace had become a bridge between worlds, a promise of adventures to come, and a love that defied the vast emptiness of space. Fluff chirped happily from his perch on Kira's shoulder, seemingly approving of this new chapter in their shared story. As the ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, heading toward a bright future filled with possibilities, Jack and Kira held each other close. No longer 2 separate beings, but one entity formed of love, courage, and the infinite potential of connection across the stars.